Welcome to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast with Darren Mitchell. If you're a sales leader looking to take your leadership to a whole new level, then this is the podcast for you. We'll be exploring tips, techniques, and strategies to help you take your leadership to the exceptional level and allow you to enjoy more money, more meaning, and better sales results. Welcome back to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast, and welcome to a man coming in from Perth. He's been telling me it's been really cold over in Perth, and he's got a magnificent looking hoodie, and he's looking
rugged up.
Mate, the logo, everything's black. You got a black hoodie.
Oh, wait till you see the bat cave that I'm building. We're moving offices tomorrow.
Right.
And I got one with a warehouse, and as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, I'm building a bat cave for sure. And so we're painting the whole thing black. We're decking it out with wrestling mats. The people that are bringing the wrestling mats, because I'm training a bunch of different martial arts just for fun. Certainly not fighting crime at night, that's for sure. But they were like, if you want, we can put the Dark Knight logo on it. I'm like, well, obviously I want that. Let's do that. So we're building a gym and everything. I've decked out my car and like matte black. It's got the Batman logo. I got a Batmobile, a Batcave. It's great, but yeah.
Sensational. Well, Mr. Brandon Willington, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Darren.
So you're the owner and director of Where You,
Correct.
And you lead generation specialist helping service-based businesses escape. Well, I love this, the word of mouth dependency.
Yeah.
So, mate, this is going to be an interesting conversation because whether you're a service provider on a small scale or a big organization, getting leads, getting warm leads, getting some sort of market penetration is critical to the sustainability of your business. So as we talked about before we pressed record, I showed you my list of questions and it was a big blank sheet.
Very good. I like this too.
So that's how we run here, and this is I think this is episode 790 something. I can't quite remember what it is, but what was it? Actually, you're 798. So
very
that's
good.
pretty cool.
Nice.
So Brandon, always love to delve into my guest's background in terms of what you've done and what's led you to do what you know to do today. So before we jump into sort of the conversation itself, love for you to give us a bit of a background in terms of the life story of Brandon.
Well, long 29-year story short. So my background came from nightlife. I was a DJ, then I was a nightclub promoter. And the natural progression after picking what song plays next is how many heads can we get through the door. And before I was a nightclub promoter, I had this mixtape go viral. And I did like 2 tours of Australia and a gig in the US. And while I was in the US, a mate of mine, we were working on some music and then exchanging some courses that we like illegally downloaded off of the internet because we were broke local DJs. And on that hard drive, I think it's actually the shelf behind me. I had, was it Ty Lopez's social media marketing agency, whatever that course was back in 2017. In retrospect, the material wasn't fantastic, but I had a 37-hour trip, 3 or 4 different flights back from LA to Perth. There was no Wi-Fi on the plane back in 2017, at least not on mine. Certainly not broke local DJ, it gotta be. But I just binge watched this entire thing on my laptop, got back to Perth, and maybe it was the ADHD, but I was like, oh my God, this is going to be my entire personality forever now. And all I wanted to talk about was Facebook advertising. And so the clubs that I was DJing at, they let me do some ads for them and start taking over the marketing. And obviously being in nightclubs, you meet lots and lots and lots of people. And so I just wasn't shutting up about the Facebook pixel, these random people in beer gardens. And then some of them had businesses. And so I got some of my first couple clients that way. And then I was freelancing and then obviously started the company Where You. The name is named after just a drunk text message, hence why it's spelt like that. Born and bred in beer gardens and Joondalup. But started doing, Facebook ads and landing pages for people, and I was turning away like 90% of the people that wanted to work with us because I was like doing the math for them, and I'm like, dude, it doesn't make any sense for you to get this to do this. Like after my onboarding fee, after my retainer fees, after the ad spend, the actual profit on your P&L statement at the end of the day, your best case scenario is like you break even and just get busier. And I was like, just turning away 90% of people. If you actually go to our Google reviews, you can find Google reviews from like years ago where people were like, yeah, Brandon didn't try and sell me something that wasn't going to work for me. And so one day, just this guy, he actually applied to work with us for like the second time with a different business. And he's like, bro, I turned him away again for a second time. He's like, bro, there's got to be somewhere we could like work together. Like, can you just show us how to do this ourselves? I'm like, I don't want to do an online course and be a course bro. And he's like, no, no, like, where are you? Where are you? I'm like, I'm in Perth. He goes, I'm in Sydney. I'll fly over. Can we fly over and just sit down with you on the team? I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. And I come from a nightlife background, right? I like events.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is cool. And he goes, what if my wife wants to come? I was like, oh, she can have like half price. I was like, cool, done. Easier sell over, mate. I was like, huh,
Mm.
weird. And then the next lady I talked to, I think her name was Kelly, she has had the same conversation. And she's like, is there some way we can work together? Like, do you have like a YouTube or something like that? And I was like, well, the last guy I spoke to is flying to Perth. Do you want to do that? She's like, oh, yeah, when? How much? And she bought it. And then the next person bought it. And the next person bought it. And the next person bought it. I was like, this is interesting. And then just the demand was just more and more and more. There's a couple of things I attribute that to. I think the main thing as well is I learned in nightlife that whoever knows the customer the best
Mm.
is the most qualified person to do the marketing because
Yeah.
you speak to the customer the most. You know all their pain points, you know all their motivators. More importantly, no one is more financially incentivized than you
Yeah.
to do the marketing. No one's checking the bank account every single morning. I'll give you an example. Like when I was I was promotions manager at this one nightclub for half a decade. We had by far the best organic reach of any nightclub in Perth. I know that as a fact because I was an admin on most of Perth's nightlife pages, so I could see. And the day that I left, I met the three people it took to replace me. And as soon as I met them, I was like, "Oh my god, I've killed this place." Because
Wow.
they'd never that was their first ever time going to the nightclub. I could just read their personality. I'm like, "You're not gonna get it." And I was like
Mhm.
almost crying in the green room. I'm like, "I've killed this place. Oh my god." And I was right. I was dead right. They did like $1 million in renovations to this nightclub, and less people came. Less people came. That club's shut now.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they sent me the link to see if I wanted to buy it on a fire sale. But the point that I want to drive home is that whoever knows the customer the best, sometimes that's the business owners. I wasn't the owner of the nightclub, but I knew the
Mm.
customer better than anyone else. I knew what their kebab order was. I knew where
Mm.
they got their kebab. I knew which section of the beer garden fence they tried to jump when security refused them entry because they were too drunk. I knew they were having sex in the parking lot. I knew all these inside jokes, so I could say anything on the Facebook page. I could just shitpost in the back of an Uber, drunk on my way home at 2 a.m. and it would get better reach than anyone else, just because I knew the customer better than anyone
Yeah.
else. And so that's really what we try and do is show business owners, hey, you're the most qualified person to do this. You just log into Ads Manager and go look at the interface and go, that's scary, and you close the tab. If we can just show you what button to click to get in front of the right person and share what you know about them, you win every time.
Mm. Man. So it's amazing how many businesses and how many business owners think they know the customer,
Mm.
but they almost project onto the customer almost what they want their customer to be thinking
It's a
or
fantastic
doing,
point.
right?
Yeah,
So because I know you're pretty big on not relying on word of mouth, and let's be honest, word of mouth is a strategy for some businesses, but it's not.
absolutely.
It shouldn't be the strategy.
Yeah.
Um, for people who are looking to know their customers better,
Mm.
is there any particular thing that you delved into
Mm.
that gave you better insights in perhaps your competitors
Yeah.
back in the nightclub days
Mm.
that gave you the confidence? Because obviously the language that you then used resonated with them, so it was almost like there's this deeper connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, the very simple answer is you speak to as many customers as you can, but you want to
Yeah.
do it on both ends. So, for example, I've always noticed the way that someone speaks to me in the sales process before they've purchased is a little bit different to how they'll speak to me after they've purchased. After they've purchased and they've built that trust, they'll say things to me which they were a little bit nervous to say previously.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
the pain points might have been significantly more painful than they actually were. There's so many different ways. I'll give you a perfect example. So, I did a webinar back in March, and I think we had 450 people on it. And just as a passing joke, and to get in, because okay, so sales tactics, when you're doing a webinar, you want to keep people engaged, and so you ask questions and get them to put the responses in the chat, right, just to keep their
Yeah.
attention. And so I said, who here's worked with an SEO agency in the past? And everyone said me. And as a passing joke, I giggled and I go, yeah, how'd that work out for you? And everyone just furiously agreed with me.
Yeah.
And so me being a clever internet marketer, I took that feedback and went, huh, interesting. I'm going to remember that for next time. And so the next time we did a webinar the month after that, and me and Aiden, my videographer, we were filming ads. And I remember filming it and I go, this one's going to piss some people off, but I know it's going to work. I opened an ad and it said, the very first line was, every single SEO agency owner I've ever met has been a coward. That was the first line. It got leads for 30% cheaper than every single other ad that I ran in that campaign. Every single other ad. And all it was I just looked at the feedback in the chat and went, huh, you guys don't like this particular group of people. By the way, I talk a lot of shit about SEO. It has its place. Just relax if any SEO dorks are listening. But it has its place. But okay, you don't like this person. I don't like them either. And then because it's like the enemy, my enemy is my friend, you build this affinity. I did this in nightclubs as well. I think this is why a lot of my marketing, I've been reflecting a lot recently in my old age at 29. I was doing this a lot in nightclubs. So in Perth, you know how we have the Swan River?
Yeah.
If you live in Perth, half of your entire personality is if you're north or if you're south of the river. Okay. There's not much going on in Perth, bro. And Arcade nightclub, where I was promotions manager at, was north of the river. And then I was promotions manager there, and I was the DJ at Metropolis Fremantle, which is south of the river. And I did a little bit of their social media marketing as well. I would post on Arcade Nightclub's Facebook page saying, fuck South River. I'd post on Metro's Freo saying, fuck North the River. They'd get the most engagement, all of those posts. But I live in the city, bro. I'm central to both. I'm just a free agent mercenary up for hire. But all of those posts did the best. And all it was, I'm from North of the River. I don't like people from the other side of this body of water. And it performed the best. So that's one tactic that I often employ is, who doesn't my customer like? And I'll just draw an affinity from that.
Man. So with that, because that's tapping into people's biases, it's tapping into, I guess, psychology and pushing buttons. Because it's fair to say there's a lot of advertising out there that is quite, let's just say, safe.
Yeah.
But what's your view on not being like controversial, but like poking the bear a little bit to tap into maybe some location bias or nightclub bias or product bias and really agitate that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like one of the key things that I learned really early on, and I don't pretend to be a sales expert or guru at all. I'm just a student of a lot of different teachers. One of the things I learned really, really early on is obviously the brain has two systems of thinking, depending which book or coach or course that you're in. It's called lots of different things. I've heard red brain, green brain. I've heard thinking brain, being brain, thinking fast, thinking slow is another pretty popular book.
Yeah.
And the brain thinks significantly faster when it's emotionally triggered. And so it drives action faster. For example, when I teach this in our workshops, I just ask everyone in the room, like, just close your eyes and imagine a time. You could probably imagine a time where you were having an argument with, let's say, a spouse. And you said something so quickly because emotions were running high, you're having an argument. And as soon as the words left your mouth, you're like, I'm sleeping on the couch tonight. And it's because you're in this bit more being emotional brain, it's more reptilian brain, and it drives action significantly faster. That was, I don't know where I developed it from. I'm pretty sure it's from Nightlife. One of my key things is being able to emotionally trigger people in ads. I find that a lot of people's ads, like you were saying, the more safe thing.
Yeah.
For example, I like scrolling through some of my competitors' ads and going, I wouldn't do that. Pretty safe. Like, you know, when you open the ad, you go, like, if I was to open my ad, instead of calling my competitors cowards, I'd be like, hi, my name's Brandon Willington. I'm the managing director of this digital advertising agency. It's just like, next. And then all they had to do was just nervously twitch their thumb to scroll past you and go to the next cat video, right? They want to know, like, what's in it for me.
Yeah.
And the other thing to consider as well is, you would know, the brain has a negativity bias. And so whenever there's something negative around, they want to express something negative or they want to read something negative, it triggers something primal in their brain to engage with it. So I'm certainly not anti-safe marketing because it makes my marketing do better. However, I always like to, like when I film ads, like I film a lot of ads, it's kind of one of my superpowers is You can give me anything and I'll just film an ad for it on the spot. It's like my weird party trick I can do. I'll spend most of my time, it might be a 60-second ad. I'd only spend about 20 seconds of that time thinking about like how can I trigger an emotion in the customer, like what are they thinking right now for the
Yeah.
first 3 seconds, and then the body and the call to action doesn't matter too much. It's can you trigger something in them in the very first couple words.
Because more people, well, vast majority of people will be triggered by an emotion
Mm-hmm.
that emotion, either positive or negative,
Mm-hmm.
is more likely than not going to force them or incentivize them to take some form of action.
Yeah.
And sometimes, if you've got a negative bias, maybe by poking the bear and getting them a little bit, not so much frazzled,
Mm-hmm.
but thinking this person's different, at least there might be a level of curiosity that they look further or they take some
Absolutely.
form of action.
Absolutely. I can't remember whose Instagram reel I was watching, but I realized that I think do you follow someone you might like him? I think his name's Chase Hughes.
Hmm.
It's like a CIA, ex-CIA guy. Well, what's the saying? There's no ex-CIA. But ex-CIA guy. I don't know. Maybe his YouTube is a psyop, bro. It could be. But he talks about psychological operations. And he talks about, what is it, the 4 or the 5 stages of grief.
Hmm.
And at first it's denial. And then it's like bargaining. And then it's like sadness. And then it's acceptance. I realized when I was watching that reel, I was like, oh, I kind of do that in my ads. Because at first, it's very emotionally triggering. One of the things I do, it's not intentional, it's just how I speak. I
Hmm.
swear a lot in my ads, which emotionally triggers people. So it gets their attention. A lot of the comments like, why do you swear so much? It's unprofessional. It's like, who cares? Um, and then it's like denial, which is like, no, Brandon can't be right. And then it's bargaining. It's like, okay, well, what's this program about? Then it's sadness. It's like, oh God, I don't have any leads. And then it's acceptance. This is they buy. And then I was like looking at my funnel stages. I was like, do I do this? Do I do this without knowing? So it's interesting how the brain works. There's a saying that I learned. I can't remember who told it to me. There's a lot of different mentors that I have, but it's the brain people buy emotionally and justify logically.
Yeah.
I agree to a degree. I would add one thing, and it would be people buy emotionally, they justify logically, but their logic is already screwed up if their emotions got to them first.
Interesting. Because that might be a bias that um, gets them to project something that may not necessarily be logically good for them, but they think it is because of the emotion that they are listening to more than the logic.
Yeah, and it's certainly one of those powers that you have to wield ethically, right?
Yeah.
Like we turn away a lot of people that want to work with us, especially when there's a lot of FOMO. They're like, no, 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 I want to do it. But no, this doesn't work for your industry. We have 2 bad Google reviews. They're both
Hmm.
1 stars, and it's
Yeah.
just people that were upset that we wouldn't accept them in the program. Despite it saying on like go, you can look at it afterwards. There's one that's like, oh, I booked a call and then Brandon emailed me 2 minutes later and said it's not a good fit and I can't do the program. And I replied, I was like, hey bro, that's because on a landing page that says service-based businesses only, you said you were e-commerce, so the automations rejected you. Seems like a literacy issue on your end, right? Like, there's another one that's just like, I got rejected for 2 businesses. I'm like, yeah, because neither of those businesses would work, right? I could very easily just go because you have so much FOMO. Right? Yeah, 4.5 grand. Here's the invoice. Like happy days, and then you get in the
Mm.
program, it doesn't work for you, right? So certainly one of those things you need to wield ethically, which
Mm.
is I think we're going to talk about recruiting sales reps and training sales reps. That's one of the things that I have to screen for. Is the way someone does something is the way they do everything.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking for sales reps, I'm trying to work out what you do on the weekend. Do you go
Mm.
out and like get drunk with the boys and cheat on your girlfriend? Because it's
Mm.
not like you put your good boy shoes on Monday morning and
Yeah.
now you're really really nice to the prospects. No, you'll. Sorry, I'm trying to hold back the swearing. You'll completely screw your prospects, right? And they'll give you a
Yes.
bad reputation. I had
Yeah.
that experience with another company that I run, and one of the sales reps we had for that, he was like emotionally manipulating prospects. I had to fire him. And then when we fired him, we found all this weird shit. He was a friend in our circle. He ran away. He left Perth. Like, that was even more incriminating. So now one of the things I had to do is like find out what they're doing in the weekend. You're looking for stability
Mm.
and ethics and, a high moral standard, which is, I think, unfortunately, perhaps not rare in sales today, but it's not an industry with a great rep.
It doesn't have a great rep, but unfortunately, and it's depends on who you talk to, and look, I run heaps of programs, and I talk to a lot of salespeople and sales leaders. And I ask them, what their perception of sales is, and would they do they like to be sold to? And it's very
Yeah,
rare that somebody says, "I love to be sold to."
yeah,
So everything we do has to be ethical and above board. And I wrote a post on LinkedIn a few weeks ago that talked about, would you rather have somebody who is driving the numbers and delivering great results, or would you rather have somebody who is almost like a humble grinder, but that person is of good character, right? It was
absolutely.
almost like this characteristics versus the competency equation.
Yeah,
And there are a lot of people out there that just like to sell the product, sell the products or the services for what they get,
yeah,
not selling a service or a product for what they can deliver to a customer.
yeah. I'm curious to ask you actually, in doing that process of trying to vet for those characteristics, is there anything in particular that you look for?
Um, I look, well, first of all, I have a no dickhead policy, first and
Yeah,
foremost,
yeah.
right? So, and this is the interesting thing, right? So is it emotion or is it logic, right?
Mm,
So often what we'll do is we'll be attracted to people who are very similar to us, and that can
mm,
sometimes give us a little bit of confirmation bias to say, oh,
yeah,
Brandon and I, we're very similar,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So we get along really well, and that can sometimes create a little bit of a bias
Bias.
towards you to say, I really want you to get the job, and I look for
Yeah, trying to confirm it.
yes, and I look for evidence to support what I think is going to be a good fit,
Yeah,
and not necessarily look for the characteristics that might be different to what we already have.
yeah,
So to answer your question, it depends. And I know that's a very much
yeah.
sitting on the fence type of response, but depends on what the business is, depends
Hmm.
on what people you've got in the business at the moment in terms of
Hmm.
what their capabilities are and what's missing,
Hmm.
and then look for what's missing, and then go and search for the people who have those characteristics. And it could be, I want a self-start, I want somebody who's empowered, I want somebody who's has the courage to knock on doors and can deal with objections really well, like water
Hmm.
off a duck's back.
Hmm.
There's a whole host of different characteristics you can look for, but it really comes down to what is the core of the business and
Hmm.
what have you got right now and what's missing that you can bring in and complement, not just add more of the same.
Yeah,
And be conscious of the leader.
yeah. I always go for like skills first, culture second. So
Hmm.
I'll just do a skills assessment straight off the bat. I probably won't even ask them how their day is. I don't want like any influence. I just want a logical, can you follow this sales process? Yes or no? I'll figure out
Yeah,
if I like you afterwards.
yeah, 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 and that can work as well. At some point though, you've got to also see whether this person will be a good cultural fit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I do that second step.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I know there's a lesson you've got from was it you that invested in a bad agency, or is this something that came
No,
up
it
that
was just so many people that were coming through that had been burnt by agencies,
yeah,
and compile that with the fact that I was turning away a lot of people for the exact same reasons why they got burnt in the end.
yeah,
And so the number of business owners we've had come through that I've literally lost count that have been like burnt by like four agencies in the past and then beat all of them in 2 days of work. Because the other thing to consider as well is running a Facebook ad or running a Google ad is not as technically daunting as or difficult as you really think it is. You just need to know what
mm,
button to press, right?
yeah,
And then with what you know about the customer, it will always outperform the ad agency. More often than not, the ad agency just has interface competences, which are what I'll refer to. I know what button to press to get this thing on, but they don't have
mm,
customer competence, which is a significantly higher weighted score on how much it matters. So if you have more customer understanding and you just know what buttons to press in the right order to get something live, you'll just win every single
mm,
time. That's why they always just outperform their agencies. It's a bit clear as well. Like I think there is a time and a place for agencies. I just think it's a very, very, very few situations where that's the right call,
mm,
especially for service-based business owners where you need to deal with lead quality is the
yeah,
main thing. So like more often than not, especially small to medium-sized businesses, unless they've got a sales team or front desk staff, more often than not, the business owner is doing a lot of the sales. And
yeah,
so they know what a quality lead looks like. And then their SEO agency sends them a bunch of contact details. They're like, these aren't even leads. These are just like spam contact details. It doesn't help at all. That's why I'm always wary of. Like, I could go on around. I'm always wary of those agencies. Like, we'll guarantee you 30 booked appointments. I'm like, okay, what's the show rate? What's the financial qualification? What's the CPA in the end of all of this? It's like,
Mm.
did you just fill my calendar with time wasters?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's where it all really stemmed from.
And I think that you touched on a few things in there, and the fact that you've I guess pushed, not so much pushed away, but politely declined to work with
Yeah.
organizations says a lot about, I guess, who you choose to work with and who you don't choose to work with. And I
Mm,
think from an ethics point of view, there's a lot of organizations out there that will say, hey, we need customers because customers equal revenue and we need revenue to be sustainable and we need to have a business here. So we'll
yep.
grab anybody, right? So
Yeah.
versus, well, if you're really picky on who you choose to work with and do they meet your criteria and is there
Hmm.
a match, then the quality of your customers is going to be a lot higher and the
Yep.
quality of the results they get will be significantly more
Becomes this
sustainable.
flywheel, right? Like
Yeah.
I always view growing businesses as marketing, sales, and product, and a little bit of this flywheel. So if you have really good marketing, but your sales team sucks, then your product can't even get any better. If you have really good marketing and really good sales, yeah, sure, you'll make a lot of money, but if the product isn't good, you'll either get negative word of mouth or you're not going to get any testimonials. If you get testimonials because you have a good product, your
Mm.
marketing improves because your conversion rates go up, your sales conversions improve because your sales go up, and then it becomes this insane flywheel. Like all we did last year, like we've had the With You program for 3 years. And it was really just a downsell for a period of time for all the people where our done for you services didn't make sense. And then
Yeah.
as more and more people were buying it, we're like, huh. And then all we focused on last year was let's get a testimonial for every single objection we get. And we did
Mm.
it. And then I launched this VSL and like a set of ads and it just ripped straight out of the gate because I'd spent 2 years, well, yeah, it's been 3 years. So 2 years just refining the product and making sure it was great. Like if you
Mm.
check the comments of our ads, find me one of my competitors where their customers actually argue with people that doubt us in the ads. I haven't seen one. I'm welcome to submissions. But every now and then, I try not to check the comments of my ads too much. But every now and then, I'll like open up the Facebook comments and there's just like three of our members just going to war. With people in the comments saying, no, I'm the guy in the testimonial, like blah, 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 blah. And all that positive word of mouth is really super impactful.
And so when you do that, it's almost like it's not a loss leader. There's another. It's almost like a lag effect
Mm,
that you're leading with almost, and you said it before we press record. So maybe some controversial language, some pattern
hmm.
interrupts is what I normally call it,
Yeah,
to grab people's attention and maybe shake them up a little bit.
yeah.
But then when they get the experience of working with you and going through the process, they now start to say, "Oh shit, this is actually delivering results we never thought were
it's
possible."
it's so funny because we'll have people come up to me in the workshops and say to my face, feel like, bro, I'm not gonna lie, I hated you the first couple times I saw you, and then I was like, man, he makes some good points. You know, the stages of grief thing again. And then they'll just leave us the most like banger testimonial ever. Like just
Mm,
and on and on and on and on
mm.
and on. Or like they'll meet me because I swear a lot and I'm pretty emotionally provocative in the ads.
Yeah.
They'll come up to me like, "You're actually a really sweet guy." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just usually grumpy when I film the ads."
So, Brandon, with that, I mean, you talk a lot about obviously credibility, and you wouldn't have a
Mm,
sustainable business if you didn't have the market credibility and the runs on the board
mhm.
and clients that continue to work with you and put testimonials out there.
Yeah.
So, I'd love your thoughts because people listening to this, whether they're running a sales team, running a small business, whether they're a salesperson that's looking to, I guess, get their word out there and how to build credibility in the marketplace. Can you talk about some maybe simple but overlooked messaging tips and
Mm,
targeting? Because I also want to talk to you about how to build credibility and trust online. But before we do that,
mhm.
um, some simple maybe shifts in messaging
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
targeting you can help with all
Absolutely. So
businesses.
I'll talk more about messaging because targeting is getting more and more automated. The number of times I've helped like members in our program, and all I did was just change one line in their sentence to get them more qualified leads. So I have this model which I refer to as, if I had an iPad, I could draw it out. But if you imagine a straight line, and on this end you have curious, and this end you have committed. You
Yep.
want to read the very first sentence of your ad and go, where does it kind of sit? For example, let's say it's a men's online fitness coach, and you run an ad to a landing page where someone applies for your online fitness coaching program. But the very first line of your ad says, this is how guys are losing stubborn belly fat. Well, what are all of the things that could be? It could be Ozempic. It could be some fad diet. It could be a juice cleanse. It could be keto. It could be men's online fitness coaching.
Yep.
There's all these other things. If you imagine a pie chart of all the different things someone could imagine. And so what happens is you send all of these curious clicks to your landing page, which is asking for a commitment from them. Give me your contact details and apply for this thing.
Yep.
And so you can make really, really subtle changes to the hook to like slide it up from curious to committed, so that when they hit that landing page, it's what they're expecting. Because if someone's clicking it expecting Ozempic and they get to a landing page about men's online fitness coaching, they're like, well, I don't want to sweat. That sounds hard, right?
Just give me a pill.
Yeah, let's just jab myself in the stomach. And so you can really simply, so the original sentence was, this is how guys are losing stubborn belly fat. Bro, I swear to God, if you just change it to, this is how the guys I coach are losing the stubborn belly fat, holy shit. It literally makes like a world of difference. I've had so many guys come through the program. I was like, yeah, I literally just put that word in there and it changed everything, right? And so you want to figure out like where you're on, like curious versus committed. Other things you can do as well is, let's say, for example, you're getting financially unqualified people coming through. They're coming through thinking everything's a freebie. What we can do is, in the very first line of the ad, we can mention something so that the people that, like on Centrelink or something like that, are like, oh, this obviously isn't for me. So if we take that original sentence and go, this is how the guys I coach are losing stubborn belly fat. If you're getting financially unqualified leads in, you could add something in like, this is how the guys I coach are losing the stubborn belly fat despite having busy 9-to-5s. And so the people clicking are like, oh, I have a busy 9-to-5. And the people on the Centrelink are like, oh.
All right.
And so I want to be clear as well, none of them click, because we deal in advertising, we're dealing with percentages, but certainly significantly less of them will click. And so now the people that are going through to your landing page are, one, they're more committed than curious, and two, they're more financially qualified than not.
Yeah. And that's the key thing, because it means you're then funneling down towards what would be more your ideal customer, ideal client you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just through the power of language, just changing a couple of things there.
Yeah.
And are there any, because you mentioned before, this is pretty much designed for service-based businesses, and you've been pushing a lot away. What tends to be the reason that a service like this doesn't work?
Usually just the unit economics. So for example, if your day one cash collected isn't, north of $200, it can be really difficult. So for example, if someone is like eyebrows or lash extensions or something like that, where the day one cash collected is pretty low, you can certainly make it up in projected lifetime value, but I like everyone being cash profitable on day one. If you can pivot the offer and the bundling so that you can have higher cash collected on day one, that certainly helps. Those are the main reasons. Another thing as well is, if you're at a industry that's just straight up not allowed to advertise. So for example, crypto would be one. If you're trying to sell some kind of crypto course, good fucking luck. So things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So one of the things that we're always big on here is credibility and market credibility and reputation, and reputation's everything, right? So if you're seen in the marketplace as a bit of a shark, right? There's probably less people are going to want to engage with you, and you look at testimonials and people who talk about you, and yes, there's probably some credibility around. If people are talking about you in a negative sense, some people might say, well, hey, marketing is good irrespective of what type it is. But we're always about ethical, long-term sustainable success.
Yep.
So from your perspective and the work that you have done and the work that you do now, what are some tips around building, I guess, trust online and connections online I love it because without sounding like salesy and pitchy.
Yeah. Talk about all the negatives. So I did the Melbourne workshop I don't know, 3 months ago or something like that. And I asked everyone in the room, because it's always a great opportunity for me to get feedback on the marketing and the sales process. And I asked everyone, I go, hey, just curious, were you guys more skeptical going through our sales process because you couldn't find any dirt on me online? Because there's only positive reviews. There's
Okay.
so many testimonials. It's like, it's actually annoying for me to update our landing page because they come through so often. I had to find this software to sort all of them by AI. And everyone audibly, like a room of 60 people, were like, yes. I was like trying to find Reddit threads talking dirt on you. I was trying to find this. I was trying to find that. I was more skeptical because everything was good. So what I did was I did a 9-minute Loom video where I went through all of our, so we have SurveyMonkey and we send all of our members internal feedback forms, right? And they're all anonymous and only members can fill them out. And I went through all of our worst reviews. And so there's I think at the time I recorded, there were 280 submissions. One person gave us a 4 out of 10. And I went, what did this person say? And it wasn't like Brandon's a scam artist. It's like, oh, I'm just really not good with technology, right? You can see like 4 people gave us a 5, 4 people gave us a 6, couple 7s, couple 8s. But you can see like 76% of people gave us a perfect 10 out of 10. But I went through all the 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, all of them. I go, what exactly did they say? And it wasn't like, no, this was a scam. It was like, I just found this pretty difficult. I'm usually not good with like laptops and stuff like that, right? And it's when you book a call with us, it's the second video on the thank you page, and it's highlighted big bold letters, all of our worst reviews.
Yeah.
Because I know what you're thinking is like, yeah, Brandon, all these testimonials are great, but how bad can you really screw me on this deal? Like, how bad could this really get? And so I just show them all the really, really bad ones. Also, one of my best performing ads right now opens with the negatives. So it says like one person did our workshop about generating more leads and gave us a 4 out of 10. But if you click see more, it goes all the way through to how many people, 76% of people gave us a perfect 10 out of 10. But again, plays in that negativity bias. They, oh, Brandon's not going great. This guy I don't like on the internet's not working out for him. They click and go, fuck, like it's gone really well. And so addressing that skepticism up front, and that might be different for different industries. For example, like if you're in the finance space and you help people with, consolidating debt, one of the skepticisms or perhaps fears is this is a very personal financial topic. And so if you were to simply add something to your application survey that says, hey, we know that often these conversations can be very personal and private, perhaps with a little bit of embarrassment or shame around it. We speak with people like you on a daily basis, often in significantly worse situations. That being said, are you happy for us to reach out to you? And so now they're not nervous about a stranger to talk, like calling them up in the middle of the day to talk about their personal private financial information. They're like, yes, okay, cool. I'm not the only one that's come through.
It's it's really interesting actually, because there's a lot of people that will lead with the positives and they'll try to create a big picture of how good they are and maybe hide all the stuff that perhaps a little bit not as great. But if you're authentic and you're open, and I'd be interested in your marketing, and even when you're speaking to people thinking about whether they'll come on board or not, how honest and open and transparent you are in terms of setting the expectations and not sounding like salesy. Because I've been on lots of discovery calls where it's just a sales pitch, right?
Yeah.
And there's this needy desperation sense that you get, this energy from the person to say they really want to convert you, but you may not necessarily fit their ideal customer profile, but they're going to try and convert you anyway.
Yeah. Do you want me to tell you about our red flag test, the marketing? As far as I know, I'm the only person to have come up with this. I'm sure other people have done things similar, but I'm very proud of this little tactic. So I call it the red flag test. I had a theory that I could predict someone's behavior based on their response to one question. Turns out I was right. So the question was, because obviously with you it's a workshop, and then you got to do the work and you got to do support afterward. I had a theory that I could predict someone's show rate, their close rate, and their success in the program. And so I measured for 3 months. The question was, hopefully not too many people watch this podcast and go, oh, this is the right answer. It was, which best describes your approach to learning and implementing new things for the business? There were 4 options. It was multi-choice. A and B were green flags. They were variations of, I like having a plan, but I know I need to make adjustments along the way. C and D were variations of, I'm going to get frustrated if this doesn't work straight away.
Okay.
internally in our CRM system, if you selected one of those last two options, it put a little internally red flag emoji next to your name. And we didn't do anything for 3 months. All we did was measure it. And then I
Yep.
measured it after a full financial quarter. Anyone that selected the red flag reaction had half the show rate and half the close rate of the green flag people. They were also more likely than the green flag people to get frustrated immediately when it didn't work straight away, just as the suggestion obviously implied.
Yeah.
Now we just don't even let them book. So if you select one of the red flag options that says, hey, this probably isn't a good fit for you because you're going to have to like do some work, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes we'll have people reach out and ask why. We say, hey, it's because you said this, you're going to have to do this work. Do you still want to do it? Just to be clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as a result of that, our show rate went up, our close rate went up, and the results and the members get is also up as well significantly.
That's such a good filter because essentially what you're saying there is, hey, just don't turn up and expect us to do all the work. We'll provide you the frameworks, we'll provide you with a process, we'll provide you with a system, but
Yeah.
ultimately you still have to do the work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And isn't it interesting how many people and businesses do the same thing? They expect they're going to look external to them for the answer to all of their challenges. And when it
Yeah.
doesn't work, they look to blame that as to
Yeah.
why it doesn't work. But they realize the person that should be doing the work is the one that's staring back at them in the mirror.
Yeah, exactly. I have this other saying. It's more related to show rates and bookings though. It's the reasons they don't buy are the reasons they don't show. Because they'll make up a story when there's a lack of information, they'll make up a story in their head and agree with it. And it's the same with like product as well. So that's for marketing and sales, but it's the same with product as well. So if they don't get results immediately, they go, oh, it's the program. And then being a human with an ego, they'll just make up that story and agree with it.
Yeah.
And then you can't pull them away from it, but you had to just accept that kind of as a given. So we had to control who we let, what kind of mindsets we let into the program. I actually really attribute that to like being a massive success because a lot of the members that we get through are like, they just do the work really, really quickly.
Well, but that means you're attracting that, Brandon, right? So you're very clear on who your ideal customer is, and whether it be through the original hook or the discovery process,
Yeah.
you're very clear on who you're going to bring into your ecosystem, and
Yeah.
you want those ones who will be prepared to do what's necessary to get the success that they say they want,
Yeah.
and you'll be the catalyst for that to help them do it. But you're not there doing the work for them necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as long as they can lean on the support. Yeah, what I really hate is when someone like disappears for a month. They're like, it didn't work. I'm like, you had 30 days to tell me that, bro. I wish you told me 28 days ago.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. So, for people listening to this and thinking about whether it's going to be Facebook ads or Google ads or just improving their, I guess their gravitas in the marketplace or their messaging in the marketplace, are there some key things they should be thinking about and doing? And does it start with like a review of their own, I guess their own offerings, their own language, or does it start with themselves?
I think it all starts with the customer. Like the very first activity that we do in the workshop is we call it a customer avatar speed run. And so you draw a little stick figure, you put all the targeting information underneath it, like age, demographic, 2 or 3 interests. And then you have an arrow to the right, an arrow to the left. On the right, you just write things that they're moving towards in relation to your offer. And then what you want to do is ask why, like a curious child. So like, why do you want to lose weight? Why? If you go too far, you get to like self-actualization. So like stop before you get to that. But you want to figure out why they want all these things. Bonus points if you can write them out in like their own language, like we were saying before. Away from motivators, you do the same thing. So like humans are like mice, they've got bits of cheese they're running towards, which are your towards motivators, but cats that are trying to ruin their life, which are just behind them as well. So you want to get really clear on what the cat is. And what the other thing you want to consider about as well is from away to towards, what are things which they previously tried in the past, which were unsuccessful or perhaps frustrating. So for example, mine is like SEO agencies, doing a rain dance on TikTok, trying to do this, trying to do that, right? So that's when your messaging can be, I will get you from here to here, but it's not like this other thing that you tried in the past. That's when your messaging gets really concise and compelling because you don't want to get put, like I've had a couple people try and copy my model, but it hasn't worked out for them because like they don't have like something else to like really compare it to and the messaging isn't dialed in. To be clear as well and set expectations, often getting that messaging right, sometimes you can get it right the first time, Sometimes it could take years. It depends how much time you. So there's a truck driving past outside. Some I was smoking a cigar in here before, so I needed to let it out. But sometimes that can take years. Sometimes it just takes like one or two customers to say something. You're like, huh. And then you like put that in your hook and it just rips out of the gate. You're like, oh, finally. So it can take time, especially when you're starting out, because your only reference for is this good or not is yourself, and you're a sample size of one.
Yeah.
You want to get as much feedback as you can from a statistically significant sample size of data is the correct verbiage I need to use.
Yeah, and the more you do that, the more information you get from your customers, the better you understand the customers, the more you can now start to fine tune the message back to that ideal customer. But
Absolutely.
it's got to start with something, and doing that. I love the analogy of the cheese and the cat.
Cat.
It's the toward motivation and move away from motivators.
Mm-hmm.
So, mate, I'm conscious you got a call coming up shortly to get on. So, looking into, I did want to ask you a question actually. How does AI in your world?
Mm-hmm.
How is that playing a part in stuff today? Is it having a big influence? Will it have a big influence? What's your thoughts on AI in the space that you're in?
Yeah, it made Meta Ad Manager more annoying because what they try and do, right, is this is actually very important for everyone to know. So I'm glad you asked me this question. They'll have AI generated text variations of your ad. Go, hey, do you want to try these? Like, we suggest these. However, all the things I just spoke about, like your filters to make sure the right person clicks, it erases all of that. So
Yeah.
you need to make sure you don't do any of that. All the AI image generation stuff like that is very annoying. The other thing to consider as well is the targeting is getting more and more automated. So it's AI generated. So it looks to what you write in the ads and what's in your videos and what's on your landing page for data. It's no longer 2017. I miss 2017. I've said on so many podcasts, the targeting in 2017 was so overpowered. Bro, no one had any privacy. It was sick. Like if you just had if your competitor had 40,000 likes on their Facebook page, you could just target their competitors, sorry, their followers. It was sick.
Yeah.
Now it's more and more automated. It looks for the targeting to make it more directionally accurate, but it's
Yeah.
reading your ad and what other people are responding to in other ads and then working it out that way. The other thing to consider as well is it's not great yet, but like, VO3 and all these AI generated videos. I have a conspiracy theory, which I've mentioned on like one or two podcasts, which with everything that I know about, I should say Meta, but I'm going to call it Facebook because I don't like the name Meta. With
Yeah.
everything that I know about Facebook, it makes the most sense for them to penalize advertisers that use AI generated content because it creates a worse user experience. So I
Mm.
have a theory that all the business owners that are like, I don't want to be on camera because I'm scared, I'm shy. They'll have, and they try AI generated video content. I reckon they'll get penalized with higher CPMs, which is how much it costs to run ads for
Yeah.
them. And all the business owners that just have the fucking balls to just open up their iPhone camera and just talk about their business and put their name on the line, they'll get one, lower advertising costs, and two, they'll
Yeah.
build more trust too. Because when all that AI content, when you're in a digital world where it's just flooded with AI content, it's the real humans that will build trust.
Mm. 100%. Totally agree. Because it's amazing how many people I talk to around AI. They say, "Hey, it's going to replace a lot of jobs," and it already has replaced a lot of jobs, but they're menial tasks that we should have outsourced anyway. But
Yeah.
the differentiation will still be that people want to deal with human beings, and if you can do that and leave them with a good positive impression, it augurs well for you to have a much more sustainably successful business, and people are going to come
100%.
back.
I agree.
So, mate, hey, really enjoy this conversation.
I
For
do as
people who
well.
want to know more about you and where do you hang out and where can people connect with you?
If you're a business owner in Australia, just open Instagram, you'll see me. But otherwise, just go to ahoy.we.com.au. We've got a website, www.we.com.au. But if you click the with you, it's just going to send you straight to our landing page. So let's go
Okay,
there.
awesome. Brilliant. And as we wrap up, mate, any final last words of wisdom coming from the Batcave?
Don't overthink your advertising too much. I'm considered, and I've coined this term. Well, I'm not the first one to coin it, but I've adopted it, Chadvertiser,
Hmm.
which is there's a lot of paid media buying dorks out there that like you need to do all this split test, and they're very detail orientated. As a business owner, you're very poorly strapped for time. You need to do a few small things which are very high impact. Like I was alluding to before, like just changing the first sentence of your ad, nothing else, and getting 5 times more leads and 5 times more qualified leads as well. Don't overthink it. Nothing that you publish on the internet from an advertising perspective anyway is etched into stone. When you don't like your headline, you can change it later, like
Yeah.
immediately. So don't overthink it too much. Anything worth doing well is worth doing poorly at the start.
Love it. I love it. Imperfect implementation, then perfect preparation.
Fix it later.
Awesome. Hey mate, thanks for jumping on the podcast. Really appreciate this conversation.
Thank you,
And
Darren.
good luck for the move
Thank you.
tomorrow. And
Thank you very much.
yeah, keep up the awesome work, bud.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you for listening to the Exceptional Sales Leader podcast. I trust the information in this episode has been helpful in your journey towards becoming exceptional. And remember, please take the time to rate the show, subscribe to the show so other people can find it. But also, if I can help you, jump on my calendar, go to leadwithdarren.com and let's have a conversation about how I can help you along your journey to being exceptional.